Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. That looks a little hot. Let's see. No gain. EQ. We got a little EQ there. But you tell me, is that too hot? Is it clipping? Is it clipping? Chester, welcome. Glad you're here. Indeed, glad you're here. Let's see, who else? Ed, great afternoon. Yes, indeedy. Xavier's jumping the gun. Windows 11's been okay with vMix here. Yeah, well, consider yourself fortunate. Ernesto, back at you. Happy Wednesday. Call it hump day down here because it's halfway through the week. Yeah, you know, there's no accounting for taste. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We can hear you. All right. Overmodulating. Okay. Yep. 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 All right. Got it. Let's turn this off. See if this makes a difference. 3, 2, 1. How about that? Does that make a difference? Hello, Jono. And hello, John. Glad you guys are here. So we got John and Jono and Eric and Ed and Xavier and Ernesto. And whoops. I forgot Jabs and Jesper. Yep. So what do we got? We got better. We got better. And we have beautiful. I'm sure Ed was not referring to the video. It is windy down here. You know that old saying about March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb? That's because of the wind. Okay, so we're going to call the audio fixed. Thank you, Eric. Yes, indeed. And Jono. Much better. So we got two betters, a much better, a beautiful, and a great. Can't beat that. Can't beat that. Can't beat that. Well, I'm encouraged. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's see. Let's check this one little statistic here and see how we're doing. Yeah, we're doing good there. How can you go from better to best? Well, it's not me. You know, it's y'all's opinion. You all. It's your opinion, not my opinion. My opinion is I can't hear the audio. I mean, I check it from time to time. How can you go? That's right, without upgrading the talent. Boy, some people call me sometimes with some problems, and I'm like, you know, it's operator error. What was it? I talked to one guy this morning. Bless his heart, he'll never watch the show, so I can say this and make fun of him without feeling like, you know, I'm making fun of him. He says, I'm tech savvy-ish. Tech savvy-ish. Okay. All right. And so I said to him, let's do a Windows update. Oh, Windows updates itself all the time. I know, let's force an update. What's that mean? Ish. That's the ish part. Yep. After several months of working with the Hollyland mics, how are they holding up? Actually, it's been a year next month, because these are the mics that I took to NAB last year so that I could make recordings with my phone, but be able to have multiple mics. And it worked up really well. They're holding up well. I have charged the box. You charge the box with where is it? It's on here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. USB-C. And inside the box are the two mics and the receiver. And so they're charging constantly based on the battery that's in here. The battery's got, you can see it's got 2 dots worth of life left. So maybe it's 50% done, plus or minus. I've charged it 1 time in a year. But I only use it once a week. So it's not like it's, and I've never accidentally worn it home. So that sometimes is a problem. So I give it a plus, a plus. I wish there was an adapter where I could put it on a stick a little bit more easily. Then, you know, I stole a wooden spoon from Sandy's kitchen, but that didn't last very long. Running Windows 11 with no issues on my end, says Eric Tabor. Well, no issues that you know about. And that's because you're probably one of those guys, Eric Tabor, that is using the latest version of vMix and probably is forcing a Windows update on a regular basis. So that prevents tons of problems right there. I mean, tons of problems. Can they take a lav? Well, let's see. Can they take a lav? Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, they can take a lav. Yeah, Eric is one of those people that we would call, not to his face. So if he weren't here, we would call him persnickety. But since he's here, we're just going to call him precise. I'm sorry. I'm just teasing. Just playing. Just playing. Maybe. So I have a question for you guys. Now that we're in the pre-show, I want you to watch my eyeballs. So I'm going to look away from the camera, then I'm going to look back. And I want you to watch my eyeballs. And I want you to watch the lights in my eyes. Are they turning off and turning on? Are you seeing that? Am I seeing that? It's like they're there, and then they're not. Is that just an illusion on my part? I was at a hotel over the weekend, and they had a light in the bathroom, had a huge mirror in the bathroom, and it was going around. Oh, it's the chroma key. You think it's the chroma key? Let's go to a shot that doesn't include chroma key. Let's go to this shot, which doesn't have chroma key. Whoops. Nope. This shot doesn't have chroma key. And this eye is still in and out. Do you see it? Right there, it's off. Oh, now it's back on. Interesting. So let's see. Does this camera have color key? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just try an experiment real quick. We'll turn off the chroma key so you can see the green screen. And now it's gone away. Look at that. Isn't that something? Is it because I have green eyes? And would it matter what the background was? Let's do the chroma key back on. Yep, there it goes. So it must be the video that's showing in the background. How about that? All right, well, I'm glad we got that figured out. So it's the chroma key. Anyway, back to the bathroom. I was in the bathroom. There's a mirror, good sized mirror, probably 2.5 feet, 30 by 30, let's say. And around the mirror was a light bar. I mean, all the way around the mirror. I mean, you know, everybody wants to have good light when they're in the bathroom. You don't think this face looks this good naturally. I have to do a lot of touch up here. So I was touching up in front of the mirror, and I noticed in my eyeballs 2 squares of light in each one. It looked pretty good. Holy cow. And I thought, well, you know, I was tempted long ago, several years ago, maybe more than several years ago, when the ring lights first came out. Is that a shadow of my jowl? I need to adjust the light a little bit on that. See if this will help. Nobody wants to have jowls. Come on. Let's see if that helps. Maybe the light's too high. Let's bring it down to here. I don't think that helped. I need a jowl light. Or I need to go on a diet. So I was thinking, you know, I wanted a ring light, but at that time I was wearing glasses. And so if you do glasses and a ring light, you're going to have big ring lights in either eye. And then when I got my eyes fixed, because my vision was getting real blurry, cataracts. And so when they put the new lenses in, I had them go ahead and make them for my prescription for the glasses. May as well do that, right? And boom, now I've got great vision. Don't have to wear glasses. I can have a ring light. So I might get a ring light. I think they're pretty inexpensive. We'll see. Michael Graves is in the house. Y'all straighten up. Glad to have you, Michael. A makeup mirror. That's right. That's right. Xavier says that they already have a jowl light. Put a link in the chat. Obviously, I need it. I need that and a nose job. So, some things makeup can't fix. When I was in 8th grade, I got hit in the face by a baseball. Yeah, I think it went that way. Yep. And, you know, just you just learn to live with it. Rub a little dirt on it, you know, go back to the game. All right, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Let's cue up our intro, outro, and we'll go to it. Yeah. How about that? Oh, golly. Yeah, hold on a second. I was playing with the camera again. And where is the camera? Camera's right there. Camera's right there. Playing with the camera. Tom, don't play with the camera. Let's go back here. There we are. There we are. Now we're better. And now that, of course, that throws off the mountain guy in the background, which we didn't get. Did we turn off the chroma key? Go figure. I mean, just, you know, people like me shouldn't get to play with toys like this because you're always doing stupid things. And let's fix it. There we go. Now we're cooking. And of course we have to make it start again. There we go. Okay. Now that's if you don't recognize this, it's from the vMix Fun Time live show from last week. So there you go. Hey, Al, glad to have you. Al Bunt's in the house. Al is going to come on the show at some point soon, Al, and talk about the new system that he's got there. He's got 442 shortcuts and 384 inputs. No, I'm just teasing. But he's got an amazing setup. He really does. Ray's here. Hey, Ray, glad to have you. All right, so let's get back to the stuff here. Let's go back to let's go here. There we go. That's what we wanted. All right. We're going to talk about troubleshooting a little bit today because the last week, no, probably the last 3 weeks, I'm seeing lots of posts and getting lots of calls with people that are having difficulty with their live streaming setups. A lot of Wirecast folks are having trouble with Facebook. And that's because Facebook just dropped the Wirecast's access to the API. I mean, pure, plain and simple. The same thing happened to vMix back in 2016, was it? When we had that StreamCon convention in Atlanta one weekend. I think it was June. And like Saturday, Friday night, Facebook stopped working with vMix. And Saturday, during the morning, Martin Sinclair disappeared. He was there at the conference. Martin Sinclair disappeared for like 8 hours and basically had to rewrite vMix in order to get it to work with the new Facebook API. And that was kind of the lesson to all of us that, you know, what's free is not really free. It has a cost. You just don't know when you're going to pay it. And that's what the Wirecast folks are finding right now is they're trying to use the built-in Wirecast API when if they would use the RTMP streaming, they wouldn't have the problem. But, you know, people find that out, you know, kind of one at a time. And it might happen to vMix at some point too. So yeah. So but the calls that I'm getting are from people that are having a problem. And the call goes something like this. vMix doesn't work anymore. Well, now that you brought that to my attention, let me tell you exactly how to fix it. It was like that Dell technical support guy. You guys have probably heard this story. This is from like 20 years ago or maybe longer. Somebody calls Dell tech support, has a problem with their Dell PC, tells the tech, you know, that the coffee holder is not working anymore. It broke. And they need to send the PC back to be repaired. You already know where this story is going, don't you? And he's like, coffee holder? You know, we don't have coffee holders. Turns out it was back then it was the CD drive. The CD drive would open. You could put a cup of coffee right on it. And the guy broke it. And the Dell rec said, okay, got it. I'm going to tell you exactly how to fix it. You still got the boxes that it came in? They said, yeah. I said, okay, I want you to take the system all apart, put it back in the boxes, and ship it back to us because people like you should not be allowed to use PCs. Needless to say, he was looking for a job the next day. But haven't we all wanted to say that? Haven't we all wanted to say you're an idiot? See, I get to say that because I am an idiot. And so I can easily say to everybody else, you're an idiot. But I don't. At least I try not to, except here. So I get this call today. And it says, vMix won't let me use my audio. Well, it's not like vMix woke up this morning and decided, we're not going to let this guy use his audio today. No, we don't like the way he treats his PC. And so today, we're going to make sure that he can't use his audio because that's just how I feel today, says vMix. No, that's not how it works. So we go through the story. I was like, okay, well, he said, well, it worked Sunday. He said, no, it didn't work Sunday, but it worked before that. I'm like, okay. I said, is your Windows up to date? Oh, no. He said something like that. And I told you in pre-show this already, so I'm going to bring it up again for those of you that have just joined us, so you won't miss it because this was perfect. And he said, and you know, I'm tech savvy ish. Ish. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Mr. Tech Savvy-ish, I asked him to force a Windows update, and he said, "What's that?" Ish. Yeah. So I said, "Well, you know, you just go to Windows settings and do Windows update." He said, "Okay, how do I do that?" Ish. So we walked through that, and it started doing its update, which apparently there were a lot of updates that needed. He said it updates itself all the time. I said, that's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's good, but those are probably patches for security. What we need is to update to the latest features for Windows. 10 or 11, doesn't matter. He had 11, he thinks, ish. It was 11-ish. How about that? Like, geez. So we updated Windows, rebooted. Problem was still there. Said, okay, well, what's the problem? Well, my audio is not there. I said, okay, let's, hello, Biz, glad you're here. You're not late. Well, you are late, but that's okay. You have to pick up the check for everybody. So he said, well, when I try to add an audio input, it won't work. Okay, what do you mean it won't work? That's the key. If you're troubleshooting with somebody else, and I'm not talking about necessarily troubleshooting your own stuff right at this moment, but if you're troubleshooting with somebody else, you've got to get the language right. And it means you have to ask the question. Here is the key question, and this works in everything. Byron Lindsay, my good friend in Atlanta, taught me this one. And the question is, when you say it doesn't work, tell me what you mean by it doesn't work. And then they get to say, well, when I add an input, it stops. When you say it stops, what do you mean by it stops? Well, I get an error message. Oh, well, error message. Yeah, let's talk about the error message. What does the error message say? Well, I'm not sure. I didn't write it down. It's an error message. It's the key to this whole thing. Write it down. Take a copy. Pull out your phone and take a picture of it so that we know what it is. Was it a vMix error message? Ish. I think so. Ish. It was. It was one of those vMix corrupted memory, can't access this due to that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it's like, okay, I think that's not a memory problem. And I popped in to Google real quickly because Google knows everything about vMix, or at least it thinks it does. The new Google AI has got some learning to do about vMix because it doesn't get it yet, but that's okay. It will-ish. So Google said, yeah, actually Google gave me some AI nonsense. And then I was able to find a vMix forum post that talked about this, and that it talked about it in terms of a Windows 11 update and vMix 24. Okay, so we're using new operating system and an old software. Okay, now the scroll that I had running across in the pre-show was a vMix post from October 2022, that's right, from Martin Sinclair, the developer of vMix, saying that yes, vMix is fine with Windows 11. It wasn't written for Windows 11, but it's fine with Windows 11. So that was the official notification. That was back in 2022. Windows 11 has probably changed a lot since then. And so, yeah. So anyway, I said, okay, here's the deal. I want you to update, not upgrade, update your vMix so that you can use vMix version 28. He was using version 25. He didn't realize, he was savvy-ish, tech savvy-ish. And so we went through the process of finding out where his stream key was, his registration key. Sorry, not stream key, but registration key. Entering that in. Not an update, not an upgrade to vMix Pro for $5 million. Just an update to vMix. Update to vMix. Update, 12-month update for $60 US. Did that. It's like, it still doesn't work. I was like, okay, let's download vMix 28 and see if we can't get that installed. So we went through that process, and of course it worked just fine. And that's a pretty common type call. You know, they're getting an error, something that did work before, doesn't work now. Didn't work before, does work now. What changed? Something, somewhere changed-ish. Probably you were at the edge of the precipice and you didn't realize it. Your vMix and your Windows were really close to not talking to each other. Yeah. So, for those of you watching, if you're having an issue like this, 50% of the time, by updating Windows and updating vMix, the issue goes away. Doesn't matter what it is. 50% of the time, maybe more, that problem goes away. Oh yeah, and reboot too. Don't just turn it off and turn it back on. Reboot it, restart it, restart it. Restarted does something in the PCs like, you know, going back to the original default settings, whereas rebooting it, where turning it off, turning it back on doesn't do exactly the same thing. Just my experience. So here's the second one that I get. Here's the call. Something's not working. Okay. What version of vMix? Okay. Well, I'm using, vMix 26 HD. Okay. Got that. What version of Windows? Silence. Okay. Do you know where the start button is? Silence. Okay. There's a little button on the screen at the bottom of the screen that looks kind of like a flag with 4 quadrants in it. The Microsoft flag. You see that? Yeah. Is it on the left side or in the center? It's in the center. Okay. That probably means you have Windows 11. Well, how did I get Windows 11? Well, I am not your Windows tech support guy, but you probably got it because there was a little restart icon in your bottom right-hand corner in the sys tray, in your computer screen, that was a restart icon that had a blue symbol in it. The blue symbol indicates Microsoft wants you to update to Windows 11. An orange symbol indicates you just have a regular Windows update that's been downloaded and needs to be installed, or probably has been installed, but you need to reboot in order for it to take effect. So watch that bottom right-hand corner. If it's a blue one, that's how people get Windows 11 and don't intend to. And they just say, it just did it all by itself. Yeah, it did it all by itself. All right, so Windows 11, in Windows 11, Microsoft I think Michael Graves told me this. Windows 11, Microsoft rewrote how Windows handles audio. And they changed the defaults. vMix did a YouTube tutorial, I guess you'd call it, about 2 years ago on this. So if you go to YouTube and you search for vMix Windows 11 audio, you'll find it and watch it. And it will probably, for half the people that are having audio problems with vMix 11 that haven't been solved by a Windows update or a vMix update, half of you will find relief in that video, for sure. Had somebody call me one time and they said, Tom, I'm using my mouse and it just goes across the screen all by itself. Not the mouse, but the cursor. And so we went through everything. And this was one of these where I had built the system for them, installed vMix. So I was responsible to them for all their tech support, for Windows, for the PC, hardware, for vMix, the whole 9 yards. And come to find out, after going round and round and round, it said, okay, let's update some drivers. So we went in and we checked the mouse driver, and it's a mouse driver. It's a generic driver. It's not any big deal. And they weren't using any fancy mouse. They were just using the wireless mouse. I think it's a Logitech mouse that we sent them. And, thought, gosh, do we need to do a BIOS update? But why would it all of a sudden go bad? And I said, okay, let's pick all of our most common drivers, and we're going to update those. And the first one we picked up was the NVIDIA graphics card driver. And that fixed it. The mouse didn't go all the way across the screen and get caught in the top right corner, top left corner. It's a graphics card driver. That is one of my go-to fixes too. What version graphics card driver you're using. What's a graphics card driver? Okay, we'll fix that. So we go through the process, and most of the time I'll walk them through. And if it's a PC that I built for them, of course, we're using TeamViewer, so we can TeamViewer right in and do it and let them watch us how we do it. And that fixes a lot of problems, especially if somebody's having some video card anomalies. Updating the driver will really help a lot. Sometimes capture card drivers can be out of date. Now, today we're using almost exclusively the Blackmagic capture cards. It used to be 5 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, plus or minus, that the Blackmagic capture card drivers were persnickety. They weren't well written. They didn't work the way that Blackmagic said they should or could or might work. And there were some versions of the driver that would work better, and newer versions wouldn't work because of whatever reason. I think they went through something like that just recently. I don't remember exactly what the issue was. Was it 14.0? There was an issue. But updating the graphic card drivers and the capture card drivers is always a good thing to do. If they're working, I probably wouldn't do it just as regular maintenance, but if there's an issue, that would be one of the things that I would look for. There are occasions where a BIOS update will help, but that's only if you've added new hardware and that hardware is not performing the way you want to. For example, if you've added a new graphics card and you want to take advantage of resizable bar, which is the ability to access all of the RAM in the graphics card for vMix purposes. But resizable bar doesn't seem to work. Well, that may be that's something you need to turn on in the BIOS of your graphics card. Google BIOS, Google updating BIOS, or just Google whatever your computer is, whatever your motherboard is. How do you find out what motherboard you have? Well, you go to, let me show you. Hold on. Let's see. Can we do it from here? Yeah, let's do it from here. No, let's do it from here. Okay, that's you guys. Let's take that out of the way. So we're going to go to Start. And I'm just going to type. I don't have to type into anything. And I'm just going to type the word system. Yeah, there we go. And system information. And since system information is going to tell me who my motherboard was designed and built by. In this case, it's Asus. What the brand is, what the model is. It's Prime Z570A. It will tell me what my CPU is, which is an i9 10900KF. I love it. It's a screamer. And it will also tell me the motherboard version. Let's see. Right there. Yep. 2302. That's the version of the BIOS. So I can find out by going to, let's just take a look at it. We'll go to Asus. ASUS Z590 prime A. We'll go to the motherboard page. Right. Yeah, we'll just go straight to BIOS and firmware. Stay here for now. We'll go to CPU memory support, driver and utility. Well, we're good right there. BIOS and firmware. And the latest is 2302. So that's what I've got. But if I didn't have it, if I had 2203, 2100, I think at one point I had, yeah, I had 1402. That was several years ago. It may have been, or it may have been 1601 that came with the motherboard. I don't really remember. But then I would download that, and there's a process for that, and you can Google the process. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. All right, let's go back here. How do we get back there? We go back there like that. That's it. That's it. So, but you can't team viewer into a BIOS update. So it becomes a little sticky if you're trying to help somebody do a BIOS update. It's always good to be standing over their shoulder when they did. Ed says that Windows 11 just appeared on its own. Just showed right up one day and said, I'm moving in. Biz says the same thing. There we go. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So sometimes vMix problems are Windows problems. Sometimes vMix problems are driver problems. So to sum that up, sometimes vMix problems are really PC problems. And a lot of times you got to be able to tell the difference between what's a PC problem and what's a vMix problem. For example, somebody says, my camera is not showing up in vMix. It used to, but it's not. What's wrong with vMix? Well, let's find out. So if they have a Blackmagic Decklink Duo, for example, Duo 2, or a Blackmagic Decklink Quad 2, or a Decklink Mini Recorder, which is a capture card, they are going to have on their system, and let's go back to this, they're going to go on their system, they're going to have a folder for Blackmagic Design, and they're going to have something called Blackmagic Desktop Video Setup. Sometimes if you click this and it populates that program, it'll say, no desktop video device detected. Aha, well that's why vMix can't see your camera, because your PC can't see your camera, because your PC can't see your capture card. Could be a problem with the capture card. Sometimes it's a matter of pulling the capture card out, restarting the PC, shutting it down, putting the capture card back in, that forces that capture card to be discovered, and in some cases even forces it to have a firmware update. The other thing is, and we'll go to the Blackmagic Media Express. And Blackmagic Media Express allows us to check and see. In this case, I literally have no devices here. But if I checked for cameras, and there would be camera 1, 2, 3, 4, if it was a 4-port. So I select camera 1, and it doesn't appear here. We would select log and capture in the little tab down here. If nothing appears there, that means that the PC is not seeing the video. So really, it's not a vMix issue. It's a capture card issue, or in some places, we'll go into the, what's that thing called again? Doggone it. We'll go into Blackmagic Media Express. There it is, thank you. And all the ports will be there, but they'll be black. Well, how many times have I had somebody that thought they had a problem when really they forgot to connect the cable, or they connected it to the wrong port, and that's why it wasn't showing up in vMix. The simple stuff. What is it? Occam's razor says that Tom's version of Occam's razor says that the simplest solution to a problem is probably right. The simplest. 1997. Could have been 8. I was on the phone with Epson Printers, dot matrix printer company. I had been trying to fix this printer for hours, and I was so frustrated. And I'm a tech-savvy guy-ish. And they started through their, their little spiel on what to check. Mr. Sinclair, can you please verify the printer is plugged in to power? Well, come on, look, dude. Of course it's plugged into power. I've been working on this all day. He said, Mr. Sinclair, I understand, but I have this script here, and I have to check off that you have answered all these questions before we can proceed with any troubleshooting. I'm like, okay, all right. So you want me to check power? He said, yes. I said, okay, hold on a second. Whoops. I had no power. The simplest answer might be the best. Start with the simple stuff. Don't start with, and now some of us are classic overthinkers. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that driver that I installed and it asked me if I wanted to have this, this particular thing enabled on it, and I read somewhere that would cause a problem with something, and I would have to go in and adjust the buffer in order to compensate for it. And no, let's just start with a Windows update. Let's start with the simple stuff first. Simple. Even though we enjoy those, some of us enjoy that digging into the problem challenge. Simple. Let's do the simple ones first. Simple ones first. What else can we talk about? We talked a little bit about audio. We've talked a little bit about video. Sometimes you can have bona fide PC problems. There was a system that I built back in the 2008, 2009 time. And I think that at that point I was just casting about for gear, and I bought a pre-owned motherboard off of eBay. And after about a year or so, I started having glitches in my audio, little ticks, which somebody finally told me, it was probably Mike Phillips, my friend from North Carolina, told me that, Tom, those are actually dropped frames. Those are drops in the audio. When it ticks like that, it's dropping the audio. And troubleshoot that for the longest time. Tried different USB ports, and it would happen on one USB port, but not another. So I just switched to another USB port. Made sure vMix, of course, knew which USB port to check. And then that one would start ticking. I'd switch to another one. That one would start ticking. Finally, I realized, have you already guessed? I have a bad motherboard. And my motherboard, in fact, is going bad. I had a PC here in for repair the week before last. And it had been used in a very, what's the right word to say? A very difficult environment for PCs. A lot of dust, a lot of heat, a lot of moving it in and out, going from point A to point B. And judging by the case of the PC, where the powder-coated paint, which of course is supposed to be incredibly durable, on metal, not plastic, of course, the powder-coated paint had been worn down to the steel. And so the raw steel was showing, and the raw steel was bright, shiny. So it wasn't rusting. It was constantly, something was constantly moving over that at that point. And it was being brought into repair because they thought they had a bad video card. And in the process of diagnosing the video card, the PC stopped working. Bad motherboard. And so it took a, and have a system here that I used to test components on. So I pulled all the components off of that one, tested them individually. The graphics card was bad. So put a new graphics card in it. Still didn't work. Put a new motherboard in it. Of course, that fixed everything. Those aren't the kind of troubleshooting things that you're going to get very often unless you're building PCs for yourself or for other folks. But yeah, had they had the PC another day, they might have turned it on and nothing would have worked. Fortunately, they returned it to me and it broke while I had it. So you never know. You never know. Well, let's take a look in the chat and see what you guys have corrected me on. That'll be interesting. We'll close out the show. We'll go to the post show. So in that, let's see, where's my outro? Yeah, there we go. Sit tight. All right, let's see what we got here. Ray is here. Al Bunt is here. Al Bunt, when asked, would he come back on the show? Yes, he will. Biz Shorty is late, but he's not late now. And Ed is showing Biz Shorty his notes. Now, this is what you missed. If I had a nickel for every time I heard this, I would have at least 50 cents. I think you have 10 days after you do it to reverse it. Used to be. I'm not sure if that's still the case. Gunner's here. Yep. That happens. No issues for Windows 10 for you, Michael Graves. But Michael Graves, are you guys still having power issues? That's really even more important. Because it doesn't matter whether you have Windows 10 or Windows 11 or Windows 12 if you don't have any power. There you go. That's the voice of experience right there. Don't forget the capture card drivers. Yep. And here is the voice of wisdom. Let this be a lesson to everyone. Always keep a full backup image of your system so you can easily revert updates. And I would warrant only 10% of us know how to do that, not including me, because I don't. I just say, if it's gone, it's gone. Doggone it. I love it. Yeah, apparently that emoji is not supported in vMix. My apologies. Yeah, I get that. Kent asks the best questions. Kent says, Tom, is there a future date that Windows won't update Windows 11? Yes, there is. I never understand why Windows changed simple layout features that worked fine in Windows 10. Should I upgrade to Windows 11 soon? Soon. The answer to your first question is yes, there is an update. There is a date where Windows Update for 10 will no longer work for free. And should you update to Windows 11 soon? And my answer to that question is maybe. Maybe. In fact, I want to do that one day on a show. We'll do it live, and we'll do it in the worst way possible, and see what we can break. But if today is Ash Wednesday, and Kent is Catholic, and so it's a big day in the Catholic faith. It's a big day for me too. I'm an Anglican, and we celebrate Ash Wednesday as the beginning of Lent. And I don't have ashes yet, but I will later on today. And if I was doing a live stream of my church service tonight, I would not update to Windows 11 this afternoon. If I was broadcasting a basketball game, baseball game this weekend, today's Wednesday, I probably wouldn't update to Windows 11 today. But today is March 5th. If I was doing a baseball game on March 20th, I'd do a Windows 11 update. And I would probably not use the Microsoft Windows Update button to update to version 11. I would probably, I wouldn't do like Michael said, I wouldn't make a backup image of everything, but I would make notes on all the software that I have that I want to continue to use on Windows 11, and I would wipe my drive clean and install Windows 11 from scratch and not build upon 5 years of Windows updates. I think in the long run, that would be the most successful way to do it. But I know a lot of you have updated either intentionally or accidentally to Windows 11, just using the Windows 11 update, saying, yes, do it. And that's probably worked out okay for most everybody. In fact, that may be what I do here just as a way to kind of demonstrate it. And then I'll go back later and wipe the drive clean. Or I may keep this drive and just put in a new drive and start with that one. And that way I still have my old stuff in case I need to get back to it. Kind of a built-in update. The date, Kent, is, I don't know if it's a date certain, but I know it's October 2025, where Microsoft will turn off updates to Windows 10 for free. But you can buy a one-year contract for Windows updates for a year. A one-year contract for a year. I think it's like $250, somewhere in that range, $260 something. And in October 2026, you can buy another one-year update to Windows 10 for $500 and something, $540 maybe. So it's not cheap, but for some people, that may be the most cost-effective for them until they have a huge amount of time to do what they need to do because they have extremely complex setup. Fortunately, most vMix setups are not that complicated. Your vMix setup may be complicated, but you can save all that. In fact, let's talk just a second about what you want to save. There are two things that you want to save. One is you want to save, there may be three things. You may want to go through each one of your presets if you use more than one preset and save it as a vMix bundle. And what that will do is that will bundle in all of the, I don't know that it does the video files, but I know that it does the graphic files and images into a preset bundle that you can transport over to your new PC. And it'll have all those assets in it. It'll have all the titles and graphics, those types of things. But you also want to save, let's go to it here. Can we do it real quickly? Sorry. Let's go here. Oh, no. Yeah, That's where we want to go. And so we're going to go up here to settings. And here in settings, we have an export button. And so this would allow us to export our config file for vMix. In this case, we're just going to do it to the desktop. So I'm just going to say vMix config as of 3-5-25. Not a bad thing to do anyway. So there we go. So now my config file is there. I can, in my new vMix, I can import it. There it is right there. Config file, select it, bring it back in. I'm not going to do that. Don't want to mess anything up. But that would save all of the answers to all of these questions in here, and all of the answers to the record parameters, external input parameters, streaming parameters, multi-quarter, playlist, all that kind of stuff would be saved. I don't know if the playlist is saved. Yeah, the playlist is probably saved as part of the preset. We'll experiment with that sometime. So yeah, the idea is going to be that we want to export our settings, save our presets, and probably also save our presets as vMix bundles so that it saves other assets besides just a list of all the inputs. So Kent, in answer to your question, I would probably say, if I were in your shoes, that sometime this summer, when things are slower, I would update to vMix 11, and that would give me to vMix 11, to Windows 11, and that would give me an opportunity to kind of get it dialed in before things start up and ramp up in the fall. And if you've got two systems, obviously, then you can have one that's updated and one that's not until you're convinced that the one that's updated is good to go. And then you can do your second. I wouldn't do them at the same time. I wouldn't do them parallel. Although here in the studio, obviously we're building multiple systems at the same time parallel, but we're not updating them in that sense. So that would be the answer to my question. Yes, it was. Yeah, it still got you. Yes, correct. Although there is that paid. Yep. I think it's a couple hundred plus. Yeah. There you go. Macronium Reflect I've used before, and it's I think it's free, and it's fairly easy to use, and it allows you to clone a drive. So there you go. And Ed, Michael already answered your question. There it is, right there. Yep. Xavier says $30. Well, thank you. I might hold off a little longer. I can afford $30 for a year. There you go. A bundle as a backup, and email it to yourself. I like it. Otis is here from Texas, where it's either really hot or really cold, or really wet or really dry. You bet you can't. Here for you, man. Business customers will need to pay dearly to stick to Windows 10. A license for the Extended Security Updates, ESU, program is sold as a subscription for the first year. The cost is $61. Then it doubles in years 2 and 3. Well, there you go. My information is out of date. And home is 30. Well, there you go. Good. Well, shoot, that's a get out of jail free card for some of us. I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. Let's take that off the screen. There we go. There we go. So, Let me do a little here. Windows 10 versus Windows 11. And let's just try something here real quick. Oh, can't do that. Bear with me. I just want to change that little guy right there. Let's see. So we're going to go to, we'll show you what I'm doing. I'm going to go into this, I've already added it down here. This is my new file, number 88. And I'm going to put it as the green screen. So let's go to layers. We'll turn off that. We may want it again in the future. I'll go down and get the downloaded picture. And we're going to have to size it accordingly. So let's put it right there. There we go. We'll blow it up a little bit more. Use the scroll wheel to get it there. Whoops. All right. And then let's just move it up a little bit. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Got it. Got it. So now we're there. It's not the best in the world, but it's Windows versus Windows. There you go. There you go. What more could we ask for? All right, my friends. Well, that brings us to the end of our show today. Join us next week when we continue in this series. No, we won't. We might do the Windows 11 update next week, live. I'll have to build a different PC so that I can have this PC available to actually do the update on. And we'll just have to put a camera on it. Because some of those things, you know, when it's rebooting or something, you can't do that as a live stream. We'll figure it out. If you've got some good ideas, let me know. And as unworthy as this video is, give me a thumbs up anyway, just out of sympathy. In YouTube, it helps the algorithm. All right, guys. Love hanging out with you. Can't wait to do it again sometime. Thanks for watching.